Good morning and welcome to the Morning Scoop for Monday, November 29th. This is your daily Buckeye fix. I'm Tom Orr. The game against Michigan is in 362 days. On yesterday's show, we took a look at some of the whys behind Ohio State's loss to Michigan. Today, we're going to let you hear from the Buckeyes on their thoughts after the game. Head coach Ryan Day and some of his players addressed the media afterwards, and while I'm guessing most Buckeye fans had probably turned their TVs off in disgust at that point, there was still some interesting stuff in there that you might be ready to hear now, finally. So let's start with Ryan Day. He just lost the first Big Ten conference game of his career. 1 week after one of the best performances of his time with the Buckeyes, a lot went wrong on offense. So what was the difference between the Michigan State and Michigan games?
When you take care of the football, you give yourself a chance. When you play clean, don't have penalties, you give yourself a chance. When you run the ball and stop the run, you give yourself a chance. Not all those things happen today. And, when that happens and they're controlling the game, and controlling the ball and we're not getting stops on defense, all those things add up. And certainly didn't play our best football on offense. But when you feel like they're controlling the game on the other side of the ball, it gets frustrating. And then it kind of got sideways at the end, trying to we actually let them score there in that last drive when they were inside the 10. Otherwise, they're just going to take a knee and run out the clock. So, but in the end, we didn't get it done.
A lot of times in close games, Day has been accused of getting a little too pass happy. And as a former quarterback coach, offensive coordinator, and, still an offensive minded head coach, that would be understandable. But does he think that they got too pass happy against Michigan on Saturday?
When you throw it, I guess we threw it 49 times, and there was more attempts than that because we had a couple scrambles and some sacks. So that's too much. That's putting a lot of stress, especially with the D line that these guys have. So, and there were some penalties, and then that was really frustrating because that got us off schedule on offense. And really, when you look at the games we've struggled, that's what's got us off schedule. And so, I don't know. I think when you throw that much, you're going to put yourself at risk, and I felt like we had to down the stretch because we weren't really getting much, in the run game, and it kind of had to keep it going. But we'll look at the film and try to figure all that out.
On the other side of the ball, it seemed like Ohio State had more or less solved their rushing defensive issues after the Oregon game. They obviously made some substantial changes, both in terms of personnel, scheme, and coaching. And it seemed like those in the numbers that those had really paid off and that the rush defense really was fixed. But then Saturday in Ann Arbor, it was proven very much not to be fixed at all. So what happened?
Well, you make progress and you keep growing, but at any week, if you don't show up and do it, this is what happens. And this 6-game run was a real run for us, week in and week out, and there was a lot of good play in there. But especially this game, if you don't bring it in all areas, you can get exposed. And just like you see week in and week out, this is what can happen if you don't play your best game. And we did not play our best game today, and so this is what you get.
Ohio State does not have a lot of experience dealing with the aftermath of a loss, and especially the aftermath of a loss before the season is over. Day's first 2 losses came in the final game of the season, once against Clemson and then against Alabama. Both of those losses ended the Buckeyes season. Earlier this year, they lost against Oregon in week 2. Obviously, they had a long way to go after that, and they seemed to rebound reasonably well. This is a different thing. Now there's no Big Ten championship to play for. The college football playoff is very, very likely out of reach. So there's just maybe one more bowl game left. How does the team move forward after a loss like that, knowing that some of its biggest goals may be out of reach?
There's not much to say because you don't plan for this type of thing, but, we'll have to, get on the bus, head back to Columbus, and figure out what's next. Haven't really had time to process all of that. But I know for, especially for the younger guys who have had to play a lot this year, there's a lot to be learned from this. And we're not there right now. This thing is still fresh, and it hurts. So we'll get back on the bus, head to Columbus, and figure out what's next.
Some of Ohio State's players addressed the media after the game as well. One of them was safety Bryson Shaw. He has not been a universally popular player among Ohio State fans, but he made one of the biggest plays of the day on Saturday, had a huge interception early to keep Michigan from taking a 14-0 lead. So you'll hear him briefly address that, but much more here, he's going to be focused on what the heck happened to the entire defense on Saturday.
It's disappointing. interception just read the quarterback's eyes and made a play, but didn't matter any day. We just didn't execute. I mean, we do 365 days preparing for this game. People from Ohio, this is everything. And get wrong on that, it's gonna leave a really bad taste in our mouth, and we just have to learn from it. It's going to motivate me, and I know it's going to motivate this team that much more. I mean, 1,000 times more in the off season. I know the team's really down right now, and no one's harder on ourselves than us. And, we just got to learn from this, and we have to stop the run. That's the goal, especially on away games in the Big Ten. Got to stop the run. For them to run the ball on this like that, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. So yeah.
In the wake of a loss, the big question obviously is, what can you learn from a game like that? How do you get better from a game like that? Here was Shaw's answer on that.
I mean, yeah, there's a lot to learn from it. Got to go back, watch the film, really know where we messed up, where things went wrong. Just disappointing, I think the biggest thing to take away from this is how motivated I know I'll be this offseason, in the next days. I'm already ready to get on this tape, see where we went wrong, get these mistakes corrected. And like I said, just anger, just angry.
When a defense that has looked really good for the vast majority of the last couple months suddenly can't get off the field at any point, and you see guys maybe losing their temper a little bit at times, it's reasonable to ask, did the defense lose its composure at times on Saturday? Here was what Bryson Shaw had to say about that.
I mean, we just got to be disciplined, part of the Ohio State program, the off season, during the season, we take pride in being disciplined. We can never let our emotions get the best of us. It's great to play with emotion. Like they say, you can never let emotion play with you. Felt a few times, got a better of us, which is, again, disappointing considering me knowing what kind of guys we have on this team, and how much we work the discipline aspect of it. Disappointing.
You obviously consumed the game on TV or in the stadium like everyone else did, but you weren't on the sidelines. When things start going wrong, really wrong, and the rushing yards and the points start piling up, what is it like on the sidelines? A reporter asked Shaw about that.
Yeah, I mean, it was tough. Really need to make every time we come out in a half, had a plan, going to go down and score. Went 3 and out, had to stop the run. Felt like we made the corrections at halftime, came out and stopped the run, hit some big plays on us, which is just disappointing. I mean, I felt like the corrections were made. I felt like the coaches, and I felt like it's not like we got down on ourselves, or fighting, arguing with each other. Just didn't get it done. Just didn't execute.
After every upset win, there is always the question: did the other team play a perfect game? Did the favored team just beat themselves? That Bryson Shaw was asked about that, and I thought his answer was pretty interesting, actually.
I mean, I have, respect to them, credit to them. They came with a good plan. They executed their plan. I mean, we played far from our best game. I give them their credit, I do, but, we didn't execute. I felt at times we were flat out there, just bad. It's going to really, fuel us. I know that it's going to light an extreme fire. When you work so hard for this, this moment, you come out flat and you don't get it done. It's hard. It hurts. And I know the guys we have. We have tough, hardworking. This team's got full of tough, hardworking dudes. It sucks and it's the worst thing ever. But we're gonna learn from it this offseason. We're gonna attack it. With fire. I'm talking the extreme passion. We'll be back and we'll be counting down the days to this game again next year, and we'll be ready.
The Ohio State offense did not look like the Ohio State offense has looked for the majority of this season. Receivers dropping passes, offensive linemen who had been fantastic all season were suddenly giving up sacks, committing false start penalties, and much more. That put quarterback CJ Stroud in a tough spot. Stroud actually ended up with a pretty good day statistically, almost 400 yards passing, couple touchdowns, no interceptions. He was asked, what was your faith in your teammates like? Did you start having concerns about your teammates when you kept seeing these atypical mistakes, the drops, the penalties, and so much more?
I mean, I always have faith in my guys, regardless of what's going on. I mean, I try to have one-play mentality, so just let it go. I mean, move on to the next play. And so I just think, like I said, my guys battled. I mean, at the end of the day, we came up short, and I'm kicking myself. I'm super bummed, but at the end of the day, I mean, we battled to the end.
I mentioned those false starts a minute ago, and they were a major, major part of Ohio State's struggles. Every time it seemed that Ohio State was kind of getting on schedule, you get a false start, move it back 5 yards, and then all of a sudden Ohio State was back behind schedule again. What was causing all of those false starts? Here was Stroud's answer on that.
Yeah, I mean, whenever you get yourself out of schedule like that, I mean, it's not a good feeling. I feel like sometimes we bounce back and probably gain the yardage back, but for the majority of the times, we kind of just put ourselves in the hole. We kind of just beat ourselves. I mean, like you can tell now, I'm not using an excuse, but I lost my voice earlier in the week, and I can't really yell. So I'm trying my hardest to yell. So I don't really blame my line. I blame it on me for getting sick. I mean, at the end of the day, so I try my hardest to be as loud as I possibly could. You know what I mean? When you get yourself out of whack like that, it's hard to bounce back.
One of the biggest moments of the game came right after halftime. Ohio State had not had a very good first half. Michigan had an almost perfect first half. And yet the Wolverines only went into the locker room up 1 point, and with the Buckeyes set to get the ball after halftime. I think I was probably not the only person who expected Ohio State to go into the locker room, take a deep breath, get the ball, go right down the field, score a touchdown, and kind of resume the game the way that you sort of expected the game to go probably. That was very much not what happened. Ohio State came out, ran the ball 3 times, couldn't pick up a first down. TreVeyon Henderson gets stuffed on 3rd down. Boom. Out of halftime, 3 and out. They have to punt it away to Michigan. Michigan goes right down the field. And it was like, oh, okay, so this is how this game is going to play out. Stroud was asked about that very decisive drive coming right out of halftime, how big that was to then not be able to convert and just go 3 and out and really change the momentum of the game.
I'm not sure. I mean, at the end of the day, you go out there, you try to execute every single play, and we didn't do that. So, I mean, I know we had a couple runs that weren't getting a lot of yardage, but at the end of the day, everybody has a job to do, and I guess that didn't happen. So, of course, you want to come out, you want to score, you want to possibly tie the game up or become in 1 score, and that was kind of the goal coming out of halftime. And I mean, when it happened, when we went 3 and out, it wasn't like damn the game is lost, but it was definitely like okay, we just got to regroup and keep fighting, and I feel like we did that.
Well, there is still a lot to talk about in the wake of that loss to Michigan and what it's going to mean for the future of the Ohio State program. There's still the issue of where they're going to go for a bowl game this year, what changes might be coming in coaching staff. Will there be changes in personnel? Will there be changes all over the program? Lots of question marks right now. We will be covering that all this week, all next week, and in the lead up to whatever the bowl game is. The bowl game could very well be the Rose Bowl, which would not be such a bad thing. If you have not had a chance to go to the Rose Bowl, please take the chance to go to the Rose Bowl. If Ohio State does end up there, that is a trip that is worth making if you have the means and the opportunity to do that. But it should be a fascinating month. And of course, early signing day coming up. That's just a couple weeks away. We're going to have a lot to talk about in the next couple weeks. So make sure you keep checking back to this podcast and all of our great podcasts on all of the platforms you like to listen to them on: Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify. Just search Buckeye Scoop to find all of those. We have tons of great shows there. We also have all those shows on YouTube, youtube.com/Buckeye Scoop. If you prefer to watch instead of listen, you can subscribe right there, hit that bell. You get notified every time we do a new show, every time we post a new video, and so much more. So that's at youtube.com/Buckeye Scoop. That'll do it for today. Thank you guys all for joining us. Have a great day. We'll talk to you tomorrow.